I was a C-level executive at the third largest lending institution in the United States, right? It was only me and another individual that had any melanin in their system that had arrived at this level in executive management. I was in my office signing checks for quarterly bonuses. The quarterly bonuses that I was presenting to my individuals who rightfully earned them were more than 25% of my salary. Not knocking anyone, but these individuals are people that I help grow, so I know their backstory. Mm-hmm. Now, in my neighborhood, we have a saying, you too smart to hustle back. Mm-hmm. Something inside of me broke, and that's when I met me. Right? Mm-hmm. At that moment right there, something inside of me said, hey man, you too smart to be stupid. This ain't it. You too smart to be stupid. I decided right then, I'm going to take whatever I had saved and step out. I remember when I was contemplating going back to get a secondary degree in college, and I had a conversation with my mother. At this time, I was married. My wife and I, we were living in Las Vegas, and I was just struggling with, I don't want to get a student. I was not using the correct verbiage, right? Mm-hmm. I was self-sabotaging now in hindsight. And my mom said, well, babe, sounds like you need to take that F out of fear and walk out on faith. And that was such a powerful moment in my life because I realized something that Fish always says, man, we have all we need. And from that moment, right, fast forward to the moment me signing those checks, a week later, I put my notice in. I said, you know what? If I'm going to give them all, why can't I give myself one?
Man. That it's time to reset and say, okay, this is what generational wealth is. And I love what you said, Bethel, as far as saying that it's about things in perpetuity. Right. Here's why this is very important. And it's not even just about the money, right? The reason why it's important to have things in perpetuity, because it allows us to know our lineage and who we are, and it allows us to know our story.
Right.
You can
You can preserve the story.
You can preserve your story at that point. Because it's so hard for me to trace down my lineage, it's hard for me to, and because we come from generations that were so closed-mouthed about, granddaddy had this, over here, and great granddaddy was this over here, and we had that family over there, and and it's hard to see where we actually come from. Right. I can't tell you who my great grandfather is because I don't know that dude's name.
Right.
But I bet you if I had some money passed down to me, or
you know exactly who he is,
I know exactly who that dude would be. Right. So that's important to preserving our narrative. If we constantly want to be in a position to be able to preserve the narrative, our story, because our problem that we have is that too many times we're being told who we are, and we don't know who we really are.
Right. So for me, when I retired from the NFL, I had to figure out who Bethel Johnson was for himself. Right. And it was a struggle because for so long, since I was 9 years old, somebody discovered I was great at a sport. And then they started saying, well, he's an athlete, right? And then they go to say, well, he's a great football player. He's a great baseball player. He's this, he's that. So when you're a kid, you adopt all those identifiers. Right. And you say, yeah, that's me. I'm this, I'm great. You adopt them yourself, and now you operate in that capacity. And so when I retired from the NFL, it was such a struggle to figure out what to do next because I had no idea. Now, I went to Texas A&M, unlike Crystal. I went to Texas A&M to play football.
And football only.
You kidding me. Why was I like that? Because I was identified like that.
Okay.
As a football player.
Unpack it.
So I'm gonna go to school. I got to go through this necessary evil and deal with this school thing.
Coursework.
You know what I'm saying? To play football. And I got to give some type of effort so I can stay eligible, in the classroom. But all of those things, people call you dumb jocks and all this other stuff, not knowing that athletes are some of the most cerebral people that you know, because their mind works completely different than normal people.
Right.
What I mean by that, we can process information.
Here you do this playbook. Go ahead.
Yeah.
you regular person, you navigate this playbook.
You can take a playbook, this thick,
there you go,
and reduce it down to a play.
and within minutes and seconds have to react.
Right, and you got to be right on the same page with your quarterback.
Right.
That takes a different level of intelligence to do. And so when so I was sitting around, and Fish was he was there, and so I was just thinking. So he when I met Fish, it was towards the end of me discovering me. And I tell people all the time, I met Bethel Johnson at 36, and I'm 42. And so me and Fish was on the field one day, and I had kind of got into finance a little bit. And so me and Fish was on the field coaching football, and I looked at Fish one day on the field. I said, "I'm done. I'm done."
We ain't even midway through the season yet.
I'm done.
Now, he was gonna make it through the season, but we weren't even midway.
We weren't
through the
either. I said, "I'm done," and I told him, I said, "Man, I know who I am, and I know what I want to do." And from that point on, I've never coached. I stopped doing all things football. I dropped all my identifiers and met me, and the person I am and the way I move. I've always been authentic, but my representative was the authentic, right? So a lot of people, when you meet people, they don't know who they are themselves. So I ask people, "Man, who are you?" That's questions I ask people. They'll go to tell me who they became, not who they are at the core. And so I'm like, no, it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. And so dropping all those identifiers, understanding the language in which was used when I adopted those identifiers, that's why I'm real mindful of the things that I say, because I never speak things I don't want. I never have, right? Well, as a kid, unknowingly you do, but as an adult, you don't. It's like when I'm clear on what I want, everything I spoke, I've accomplished. Everything that I've said, I've done. So I always tell, my partners, I say, man, listen, those words we use are very powerful. Right. So if you allow somebody to box you into something, then you're allowing them to cast a spell on you of what they telling you who you are.